there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. You may have lost a lot of physical things, but so long as you are alive, you haven't lost everything. When the battle chooses you, God fights for you, is with you, and He will show Himself mighty. People may strip you of what you have, but so long as they have not stripped you of your life, there is still hope for you. Hello and good evening to you, or good morning, good night, wherever you may be in this earth. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with the Ambassador of Hope, episode 102. 102 episodes of life-changing, life-building, life-promoting, teaching and learning together. What a blessing. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come your way today. Listen, every day above the ground is a good day. So long as there's a heartbeat in your chest and breath in your nostrils, it's a good day. It doesn't matter what has happened to you. Listen, your back may be to the wall. You may be to hell, and you may have been to hell and back. Looks like the enemy is breathing fire down your neck. But let me tell you something. It is not over until God says it's over. You may be knocked down, but you are not knocked out. You will get up again and you will move again. Why? Because I believe in the God who gives us hope. Welcome again. Listen, today on this episode, like you can see, somebody chose to wear the same color like I did. I wore it first. I wore my shirt first. I did. Yes, I did. It's, you know who my girlfriend, my friend for God knows how many years before John the Baptist came preaching. Mary is here with me tonight, and we are going to take this episode of hard questions and soft answers. Make sure that you direct all your difficult questions to her and give me the easy ones. But before we go on, listen, I want you to take your device, pick up your device, and let us share. She says something all the time, that if it is worth hearing,
it is worth sharing.
Did you hear that? I'm going to repeat. If it's worth hearing,
it is worth sharing.
So let's do it. We are live on Facebook as the Ambassador of Hope. We are live on YouTube, Ofosu-Appiah Official. So please, let's do that. Please share. Whilst we welcome, Kwabena J says, Mommy, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Kwabena.
Well, Joy says, greetings, family. Please share. Let's all do it. Well, somebody says, good to see you, beautiful mommy. Now, let me warn you guys. I've been here all this while. You've not been saying these nice things to me. So after she's gone, we need to sit down and talk. But thank you so much. Who do you see again? Is there anybody you see you want to acknowledge?
Yes, Presides it's on. Good evening, mommy and daddy. How are you, Presides?
The miracle lady.
Yes. Hope you're doing well.
Well, they tell us that we should drop the fire emoji, give us some hearts, give us some thumbs up. So let's all get ready. Gloria, say you are watching. God richly bless you. Our own Sylvia Brockshaft. Sylvia, good evening to you. I hope you and the family are doing very well tonight. God richly bless you. Emma Ronnie. Emma was one of the first people to come online. Emma, God richly bless you. Sandra Talata, you are watching. God bless. Cleopatra Nafale is here, all the way from the Republic of New Jersey. Our one and only High Priest, Reverend Dr. Professor Joseph Asma. God bless. Clifford, God bless you so much. Is there anybody you want to acknowledge?
Abba Adoma is on the line. Good evening, Abba. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. And we have Akosia Owusua watching us. Hello, Akosia. I hope you're well.
You got some more on there?
Yes. Albert O. Grandpa. Grandpa and Grandma, good evening.
This grandma business, listen, you have to be steady, man. You got the best. This is the coolest grandpa combination you're ever going to get. So that's fine. That's good. Let's roll. Go on. Is there
Nana Konedu Brifu is also on the line. Good evening, Nana. From where's she at? I think she's
in Canada. Yeah, Toronto, Canada. Nana, yes.
And we encourage you to share to your friends, tag people, copy, share on your WhatsApp platform, wherever. I believe that tonight we're going to be blessed.
Yes, once you are there on Facebook, I switched off also to the YouTube crowd. So many people there. Blaze, Emmanuel, God richly bless you. Ella, yes, you believe us, Ella, God bless you. We missed you at ISI, you are in trouble already. Ofosu-Appiah is right there. Zandra, how are you doing tonight? Comfort Yamwa, good evening to you. And we have Emanuela, Ella, good evening. She says, I am dope and mommy is doper. Then I end it with dopest. So dope, doper, dopest. I get a lion's share. Esther, upon my birthday connection, God richly bless you. Hey, Joe, thank you so much for your blessing. Adam all the way from Kerry's House, Ghana. Good evening to you. God richly bless you. Baby Soft, God bless you. You got any more? Listen, share. We're going to get into business right away. We're going to get into business in exactly 1 minute. So let it go. All the way from Royal Victoria, Docklands, London, Mami Fuakwa, good evening to you. God richly bless you. Anybody else?
We have Juliana Sapon. Good evening, Juliana. How are you doing?
You got some more? You see, there's Charles. Charles Ofori is here. Remember Charles?
Yes.
All the way from Delaware? Okay.
Kobe is on the line. Kwabenet J. Good evening, Kobe. How are you doing? How is Obaya doing?
I would have been very disappointed if I didn't see my one and only Archie Palago online. Archie, God bless you so much. Pastor Festus Chumesi from Bronx, New York.
Adelaide Techimensa is on the line. Good evening, Adelaide.
Richard Kwame Akowa, blessings to you. Mami Nyamiche too is here. Mami Nyamiche says she misses you and you are looking good as usual. I don't know what she means by that. She didn't say anything about me, but that's fine. I can forgive her. But God bless you really good. Listen, this is episode number 102. And I told you last week we had Pastor Joasma and Pastor Samuel Opokwe, Pastor Pearson. It was wonderful. The feedback had been amazing. You know, I started this trajectory, but I just felt that I had to stop for us to begin to answer some questions because sometimes people have so many questions. And listen to me carefully. From last week, because of your demands, we began to talk about Book of the Month. And this month, we're going to give you another one. But before we get in there, let me say something to somebody. Please listen to me. Please listen carefully to me. One of the best investments you can ever make in life is to invest in yourself. one of the best investments you can ever make is to invest in it. You know why? Because everywhere that you go, you carry your whole self there. Somebody asked me about secrets of success and all that. There are plenty of things, and some of them are relative. But I tell people that look at all the things that unsuccessful people do and don't do them. Look at all the things that unsuccessful people do and don't do them. You need to be separate. You need to stick out. And that is what improving your life is all about. And I hope we'll be able to help you out. You see, we can sit on this program and let it become popular, you know, all the cliches, all the charismatic gymnastics and everything, and we can get thousands of people online listening to nothing. Remember one time, it reminds me of Denzel all the time, when I quoted Jesus' words in Matthew 24 that where the carcass is, that is where the vultures will go and feed. And many times, the fact that there's a crowd doesn't mean that something is happening. So it's very, very important. Some years back, many years back, about some 15 years back, a gentleman in our church gave me a little book. One of the best presents I ever got was this very little book of just about maybe 12 pages or something. And it was put together by a man called Jim Rohn. He really introduced me to Jim Rohn, one of the foremost thinkers in our generation. And Jim Rohn says something. He says, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. He also said that don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. You see the separation. Then he says, don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. And one of the ones that have stayed with me and it's become like a quiet mantra in my life is this. It's either you run the day or the day runs you.
Wow.
Which side of the divide are you going to be? Listen, my determination, I told you this is not another church service. That is why I ordinarily will not preach. But I use God's word, which is the book of wisdom, the ultimate book of wisdom, to bring life to you where life is, because life happens. And in this life, you have to have some skills. You have to have some skills. And one of the greatest skills is the skill of learning. And that skill of learning comes through, one of them is reading. Leaders separate themselves from the world. Remember Jesus when he was only 12 years old? He was daring enough to separate himself from his natural parents and spend some days in the temple in Jerusalem, strange company, amazing company amongst the elders and the leaders, those who were versed in the Torah and the Talmud, because he dared to be separate. Let me tell you something. Nobody pays to go and watch average. Nobody gets excited about and also run. I want you to be different. I want you to be noticed. So before we get into our questions, and Mommy is going to take most of the questions, listen to me, my friend. Last month, our book of the month was Make Your Bed. Make Your Bed. I don't know if we have a copy out there with General William McRaven. Make Your Bed. I hope you read it. I want to help you build a library, and I tell it all the time that never get a television that is bigger than your library. Of course, now everything is digital. I have thousands of books on my Kindle. But make your bed. Little things that can change your life and maybe the world. Listen, if you're going to change the world, please first change yourself. And it comes to the little things. And I don't know how many of you read the book, but if you did, can you just give me a little heads up? Can you just say something, put something there? Now you can take the book away. But what was your favorite chapter? For me, I'll tell you my favorite chapter. You know, my favorite chapter was Stand Up to the Bullies.
Wow.
When it talked about sharks, when if they attack, you don't run away, you face them and you hit them on the snout, and they will turn and run. Face up to life is full of bullies, cyber bullies, physical bullies, relational bullies. You need to stand up to them. You need to stand up to them. The silence of the bullied becomes the strength of the bully. Never forget that. So what is your favorite? Can you drop us something? I want to see. Does anybody has anything there to tell us? Because I don't see anybody, saying anything. I don't want to do all the talking. So can somebody just come up there and tell me what have you learned? I want to see anything about Make Your Bed, and I'm going to talk to you about this month's book, and then we go on from there. Anybody? Let's see. Is anybody saying anything to you? Evangelist BB, shalom to you. Good to have you here. Collins Obey, congratulations to your wife Ohima, who had a baby boy yesterday. Congratulations. Avis Rodak, God bless. Mary Essential. Mommy, God bless you. Do you see Eunice Asma watching us?
Yes, I do.
Wow. God bless you. Jerome Sana, you are here. Frank Anifori, good evening. All the way from Taifa in Accra. Beautiful Taifa. God bless you. Richard Kwame Akowa says he's a 17-year-old from UK. You've received a call that God is going to use you to do amazing things. You need wisdom. So how do I grow in wisdom? I'm going to help you. I'll pick up your question. I think my staff will pick up the question. Don't forget. Then we're going to deal with that. Thank you. This is a very powerful question. But we are dealing with our book club. Is there anybody said anything before I move on? Well, Denise says, Mommy, did you see that? My very own daughter, good to have you. God bless you. You are such an amazing woman. We love you. God bless you, Denise. God richly bless you. God richly bless you. Richard Senna from Minneapolis, Minnesota. God richly bless you. Well, I don't think anybody is saying anything. Let me give you the book for this month. Or do you want to say anything about that? Or
yeah, I also like the chapter that it says, stand up to the bullies.
Yes.
Because in life, if you don't stand up to the bullies, you'll always be bullied.
Wow, that is powerful.
So you have to stand up to the bullies. And it all comes down to your attitude.
Right.
So it's very important, because if you don't stand up to them, they will bully you and they will put you down. They will discourage you in everything you do. So you have to stand up to the bullies. And
I love that.
the bullies will come one way or the other.
Right.
You are not going to, get rid of them.
Right.
So you have to determine to stand up to them.
Right. That is amazing. Whilst we're there, can I tell them a story about a bully? There are always bullies in school. They pick up on those that they think they can beat. And one day during the recess where the students were all playing in the school park, there was this big bully. He had a pen and a notepad, and it looks like he would look around and he would write a name. He would look around, and this little boy went up to him and said, Jimmy, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm writing down the names of all the people I can whip in the school. So the boy turned around to go, then he stopped and said, maybe he has my name on his list. So he went up to him and snatched the thing from his hand. Let me see. And he saw his name, and he went up to him and said, you have my name here? How dare you? And the bully said, sorry, I need to erase your name from my list. He said, sometimes you need to stand up to them so they can erase your name out of their book. Well, somebody says that they love the chapter on life is not fair, and then also to drive on. Life is not fair, but you drive on. What do you think about that? Life is not fair, but you have to move on.
Yes, I mean, life is unpredictable.
Yes.
It is not fair. We don't know what is going to happen to us the next month. Yes, we are hopeful, but life happens. And when life happens, it doesn't mean that your life should stop.
Thank you.
You have to move on.
Yes.
Be determined, shake whatever happens to you, shake it off, and then move on.
Wow. That is powerful. Shake it off and move on. Shake it off and move on. You can't spend all your life looking over your shoulders. Just look forward. That is beautiful. Now let me give you the book for the month of August. And please make me a promise and make yourself a promise that you are going to read. Let me say something about reading. The one who cannot read has an excuse, but the one who will not read has no excuse. You can share that. The one who cannot read has an excuse, and it's justified. They cannot read. They may be illiterate. But the one who can read and will not read, you are disadvantaged. Please invest in books. Please invest in yourself. Read a book before you sleep at night. You know what I do at night? I normally, more often than not, I'll read maybe a chapter or two of scriptures before I sleep. And normally I do that from the Message translation, which is very streetwise, it's not very intense like the King James or the NIV or that kind of thing. The Message, very streetwise, that is what I do. And then I read a book. I read a chapter or two before. Sometimes I have to literally force myself to sleep because books are very captivating. It brings you into the world of the author. Yeah. And in the month of March, in the month of August, drum roll. What is our book for August?
Boundaries.
Go ahead. We want to hear you.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, right there on your screen by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Boundaries. Please invest some money. If you are doing it digitally, it shouldn't cost you more than $12 or so, or $10 or $9. If you are buying it, hard copy or something, please get it for $20. That is one of the best investments. Over 4 million copies sold. I'm one of the 4 million. Please do that. It's a very, very, very powerful book. Boundaries. Boundaries. What does the book say? It says exactly what it says. Boundaries. 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 What I have realized, mommy, is that many people end up in undesirable ends in life because they lack boundaries. Would you agree with me?
Yes, I do. I do. And I believe that boundaries are so important for us to set. Because if you don't set boundaries, people will set boundaries for you.
Wow.
So it's very important that you set boundaries. If you can't do it, tell the person, I can't. If you can, let the person know that you can do it. And, do it as you said or as you promised. So right. Boundaries are very, very, very important in this time and age that you and I live in.
Thank you. Thank you. Because you and I, because of what we do as our calling, we are able to get into the space of a lot of people. And one of the deductions I've realized is that many people get into the sticky situations they find themselves in because they have no boundaries.
Yeah.
Now, if rivers had no boundaries, imagine what happens when the river breaks its bounds, brings catastrophe. Something that is designed to help now becomes calamity.
Yes.
If the ocean had no beaches to stop that, you can imagine there are places that they have to build wall levees like Louisiana to stop the onslaught because they need boundaries. And sometimes I've seen that a lot of people get into dating and there are no boundaries. And about 100% of the time, dating without boundaries will always end up in calamity.
Yes.
And you don't blame anybody. Do you want to speak into that?
Yes, I believe that boundaries in dating is very important. And once you set a boundary, number one thing that it does for you is it puts value on you. Good. As a human being. You set your boundary. This is my boundary. You cannot cross this boundary. And anybody that you're dating, once he sees that you have a boundary, he sort of outright gives you some respect.
Good. I like that.
So I believe that boundaries are very, very important. And for somebody may be in jail because the person didn't set boundaries. So boundaries are very, very important. I was talking to one lady a few weeks ago, and she said she had to give somebody money, and I asked her, do you have the money to give? And she said no. And I told her, why don't you tell the person, I'm sorry, I can't give it to you, I don't have it at this time.
Yeah.
And then I told her, I think you need to learn how to set boundaries, because you can't love your neighbor more than yourself.
I like that. Shake the tables, mommy, shake the tables. It's very, very true. It's all, sometimes people waste your time in life, and time is a commodity that is never recycled. You can bank money, you lose money, you can get money back. But when you lose time, you don't get it anymore. It's something that got 8,400 seconds a day. Once it's gone, it's gone. And sometimes you allow people into your space and they just take your time. You ask the person, when are you coming to see me? Say between 7 and 8. So 60 minutes of no. You've got to have boundaries.
Yeah.
You've got to have boundaries. Very, very important. Some people are under undue pressure. Let me tell you, one time I just decided to have boundaries for life because I'm a supremely busy person, super busy person. And I realized that I have only 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But it looks like people wanted me to have 25 hours a day and 8 days a week, which I couldn't. So, just like that, Mondays is my Sabbath. Yeah. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And so ordinarily, it's a boundary.
Yeah.
People call me and I keep quiet. I let them talk. And when they finish, that is, if I pick up their calls, that is. And when they finish, I tell them, it's Monday. And I think people are beginning to get it. The fact of the matter is that if you don't have boundaries, other people will own your space.
Yes.
People will own your space. It's very, very, very important. Boundaries are like fences. You keep the good in and you keep the good out. The bad out, I beg your pardon. You keep the good in and you let the bad out. So it's important, my friend, that you get boundaries. So this is going to be our reading for the month. And every time we come, we're going to talk to you, we're going to ask you about something. So whilst we are there, can we there's a question that came. My star, can you put it up there and let's see somebody about a young man who brought up something. I don't know if we can find it. It's somewhere. A young man, 17-year-old guy from the United. Yeah, there it is. It says Richard. Richard says that, Mom, this is what he says. He says that he has received the call of God in his life. He says, I know God is going to use me to do exploits and amazing things, but I know that for that I need wisdom. So my question is, how do I grow in wisdom? And how do I have the attitude of wanting to learn? Would you want to help him?
This is powerful and very loaded.
Yeah.
Thank you. I believe the first thing you have to do, Richard, is just grow in the Word of God. When you grow in the Word of God, you grow in wisdom. There is a whole book in the Bible that talks about wisdom. We all know the book of Proverbs. So grow in the Word, and especially in the Word, in that chapter of Proverbs. And yes, there's a call of God on your life, but I believe that the call travels through time. God has called you, yes, you know and you believe. Serve God wherever you are. Serve God wherever you are, and wherever you find yourself. Whatever you find yourself doing in the house of God, do it with everything on the inside of you. Don't wait and say that, well, I'm going to hold back till the call of God. I begin to do what God has called me to do. Keep on serving. Keep on doing what God has purposed for you to do. And once you keep serving and you keep doing what God has called you to do, it's a way of preparing you for what He has prepared ahead of you.
So would it be okay if I said that one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make as a young person coming up, and for that matter, everybody listening to me, it doesn't have to be people who have quote unquote a call. And by the way, when we say a call is not always having a microphone to stand on the pulpit to preach, because that is a very limited understanding of a call. You can be called to medicine, you can be called to missionary work, to go do other things than holding the Bible. It was St. Francis of Assisi that said, by all means, preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words. We think that the call all has to do with words, but I don't think we'll be out of order if we say that one of the biggest deceptions that people have is to think that they are working for somebody.
Yeah.
You are working for yourself. You are gaining experience for yourself. And many times God will send you to somebody. Last week I was talking to a young man. I was in the DC area, and I said to the young man that one of the tests of wisdom is when God places you to go and serve somebody that you know more than in a particular area. It's going to test you.
Yes.
Are you going to expose the person, or you are going to make the person look good? That is how you grow. Like Mommy said, it goes through process, mentoring, preparation. Samuel was sent to Eli. Eli was not the best.
Yes.
But many times you don't even choose who mentors you. God does sometimes. You know, we have this thing like we feel we only must have perfect people to mentor us. Saul, he mentored David, but yet he was a spear-throwing king, madman. Why? Because God wanted David to know how not to do it. And so sometimes God sends us to people and we find all the faults about them and find a way to move away from them. I don't think that is a lot of wisdom. I'm not saying that you should compromise. I'm not saying that you should go and learn the bad things and the bad characters that they have. But God has so many things to teach us. The good, the bad, the ugly, and in between. So, young man, please submit wherever you are, like Mommy said, and let's go on with that. Is there anybody else with a question, or do you see any that you can let us know?
No, I don't see any.
Is there any question out there for us?
Go to Facebook.
We want to see. We are here. Time is ticking. TikTok. We have about some 25 minutes to go. So we want to see anybody with something. Let's look at it. God bless you, Apostle Kingsley, Eddie, Kuban Eddie, my man. God bless you. Anybody else? Somebody want to bring out something? Okay. There's one up there. Can you put it up there? It says that, Papa, can you touch on how rejection affects your progress in life? You want to look at that?
Thank you, Richard. I believe that in life, one way or the other, everybody will face rejection. Rejection is part of the life that you and I live in. If you look in the scriptures, Paul faced rejection. Jesus even faced rejection. And so we as children of God, or we as the people of God, will face rejection. Rejection is part of life. But when you face rejection, I want to say, look beyond what is going on right now. Look beyond what you are facing. Shake that rejection off and move on in life, because you don't allow the rejection that you face to affect your progress or affect your forward march in life. Once I face rejection, so I will settle there and not move on. No, because even when you overcome that rejection, there's another form of rejection that is waiting for you. And so I believe that when we face rejection and we overcome rejection, it also helps us in our attitude as people of God. It strengthens us in our attitude, and it toughens us in our attitude, because like I said, rejection will come one way or the other, because everybody wants to be needed, everybody wants to be wanted. But if you go to a place and you feel that you are not needed or wanted, in a way you are facing rejection. But you have to look beyond what you want and know the purpose and the plan that God has for you.
This is very powerful. One of our daughters says something here that it says rejection is sometimes redirection. That is very powerful.
Yes.
That's very, I try as much as possible to separate Tuesdays with the Ambassador of Hope from the general thing that I do as a pastor. But anybody who is young in Gen Next or something in Kerry's house, I'll be preaching at the Gen Next service too on Sunday, and I'm talking about the cure. That is the topic, the cure. And I feel so passionate about what I'm going to teach, because chains are going to be broken of people's lives, and this thing is one of them that we are talking about. Listen, for everybody who is in leadership, one way or the other, or anything, wherever, anytime you sign up for leadership, you have signed up for rejection. Anytime you sign up for leadership, this scripture that when the Lord told his apprentices to go out and preach, and he told them that don't pick any house that you go in, if they receive you, bless them. Then he ended up by saying that when you are rejected, go away and shake off the I remember when I was growing up, we would go to places, and when we are rejected, we would literally remove our shoes and sandals and shake them. I don't believe that that's what the Lord was saying. Of course, we didn't know any better, but I feel that the Lord was using a symbolism that when you are rejected, shaking off the dirt from you means that don't let what they put on you get into you. Don't let what they put on you get into you, because rejection can become chains in your life. A lot of anger, a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that leaders do in their lives is because of the trigger thing called rejection. So you have to learn, like she said, but Sunday, second service, the cure is going to be a help to you. Let's see, do we have anybody? Can we have anybody? Listen, you guys are either going to ask me questions or it's going to be trouble. Okay. I mean, this is what it says. Somebody says that in cases where trust has been broken due to mistreatment from church leaders, which steps can be taken to restore the individual sense of belonging within the community?
Go ahead and start.
I should go ahead. She threw this one to me. The truth of the matter is that things happen, including the church. What we call the church, I don't think what we call organized church today was the original intention of the Lord Jesus Christ. I cannot criticize, as it were, because I don't think I qualify to do that. But you know something? The church is not perfect. Church leadership is not perfect. The only one who is perfect is Jesus. That is why there's no record, and there will never be a record where Jesus, God, ever apologized, because he doesn't make mistakes. There are some things that you have to understand. Number one, we are imperfect people.
Yeah.
Number two, we have imperfect emotions. Number three, we live with imperfect people. And number four, we are all in imperfect place. So imperfection will be manifest. And sometimes trust issues come in. The first thing that you can do to restore your sense of belonging is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for the sake of the one who hurt you, it's for your own sake, so that you don't put yourself in a veritable jail and give the keys to somebody else to be your jailer. And then number two, you have to make a decision that I'm not going to sit in that jail where I've been hurt and move on. One of the examples that I give is about Samson. Samson was betrayed by somebody he trusted. And because of that, his eyes were gouged out. I call it vision. He lost his hair, his strength. Samson the judge now became a comedian, and the enemies of God were laughing at him. In the midst of his blindness and his hopelessness and everything, there was a little boy beside him. Samson had to trust a little boy again. He trusted and he was deceived. He trusted and he lost it. But when he was blind, he had to trust somebody to hold him to the pillars of the place where the Philistine lords were gathered, 3,000 of them, in order to execute his assignment. So, trust is a risk, but you've got to trust again. Because anybody who says, I don't trust anybody, doesn't deserve to be trusted. And so long as we are on this side of heaven, which is imperfect, there will be trust issues. You have to make up your mind. Are you going to overcome, or you are going to be overcome? The decision is yours.
Wow, that is good. Trust is a risk, but you have to trust again. It's very important that we get that. Like he said, we are all imperfect. So we have to learn to trust again.
I think this next question is yours. You want to start it?
How do you set boundaries without coming off as having walls up? I believe that not everybody is qualified to sit in the front row seat of your life. There are some people that, yes, you may be friends with them, but they don't qualify to sit in the front row seat of your life. We must remember that even Jesus had the 12. Amongst the 12, he had 3. And so you have to learn to set boundaries by the walls that the walls you build, you must learn to kind of not build a fence.
Wall.
Sorry?
Not build a wall, build a fence.
Not build a wall, but build a fence. I'm talking about you have to put a gate where you can open and close at your own time.
Right.
You understand me? So you have the walls, but be careful to put a gate at the wall that you can open and shut at your own time. In other words, you have control over it. You should have control over it.
I like that.
Like I said, you have to qualify who sits in the front row seat of your life. It's very important because not everybody is qualified. There are some people, everybody they meet is their friend. And so even if somebody talks about them, they don't even know who they talk to. But you have to qualify the people that are around you.
That's good.
You have to qualify the people that are around you. So yes, don't lift your walls up. Even when your walls are up, put a gate on the wall. And so learn to open as and when you want.
May I add a little bit to it?
Yes.
Let me say something. There are people who say, well, you have your walls up, and so my question is, so what? Let me say something. Standards. My standard is not a judgment of you. If I have standards, it doesn't mean I'm judging you. I'm looking after myself.
Yeah.
So when people have standards, they are not judging you. The standard is not for you, it's for me. It's for me. This is what I want. And people will always think that they have a plan for your life. But walls, like Mommy said, you have your friends. But please let me go back a little bit, because when we talked about the trust issues and things, our brother Eric asked that, so do you leave the church or stay there for restoration?
I believe that God has a place for everybody. So because you're having trust issues with somebody, doesn't mean you have to leave your place called there. There is a there for everybody. And once you leave your place called there, you might miss your blessing.
It's very important. You know, this thing about leaving church, I don't know about anybody or everybody, and I don't speak condescendingly over everybody. Everybody has a right to enter and to exit. But the issue of leaving church, for me, sometimes is a very powerful decision that you've got to make. A lot of people sometimes consult with me. They ask me, so do I leave my church? I think I can count on the tips of my fingers in over 41 years of ministry that I've been able to tell somebody, leave your church. For me, it's a sacred thing. It's a community. It's a covenant. You know, we join churches, which is, it's a system, but it is not biblical. It is covenant, where we get it almost like marriage. And so joining church or leaving church and that kind of thing is a very strong decision. And like Mommy said, you've got to consider a lot of factors. You know, I've seen people who got offended by something that could have been, you know, repaired easily, and picked up their kids and crossed down to another place. And I don't want even to go into the details of what happened to the children, because we can make some decisions that could be very selfish and not think of the other person. So leave church and that kind of thing is a very, very sensitive. Pray about it. Seek counsel. Seek the mind of God. If he releases you, go. And by the way, when you leave, leave. When you have left a place, leave. Don't go asking questions. How is the pastor? Is he still there? No, he died 2 weeks ago. No, go. And don't create a Broadway production before you leave. Just go and make sure that there's, you know, Dr. Samchan. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a scripture that says you shall be led forth.
Yes.
With joy.
Isaiah chapter 55.
Yes.
Yes.
So, in leaving the church, are you leaving with joy or you are leaving with grief?
Right.
That is very important.
There are two things that it says there. For you shall go out with joy and be led forth in peace.
Peace. Yes.
Yes, you shall go out. Isaiah 55. You shall go out with joy and be led forth in peace. And the mountains and hills shall clap their hands. So, joy and peace. Are you living peacefully? When you leave a place and you meet whoever is in leadership and then at the restaurant, can you go to their table and greet? Can you pay for them? When you meet them in Walmart, can you hide behind an aisle? Okay, that's good. That's good. Anyway, Nana Crowder says she loved the no Broadway production. I like that too. Timothy Yagwacha here is my childhood friend. Hey Tim, how are you? I hope Takrade is good. We had some wonderful childhoods where we had no care because we didn't have to buy our food. Our parents fed us and clothed us and we had no care. I remember those days. Unfortunately, we can't go back again. Yes. But Timothy, God bless you. Ma'am, go ahead.
There's a question here. Oh, okay.
Answer this. You leave that on the screen. Mommy has one here.
Please, can you speak to the excessive need for validation amongst the brethren, as it causes so much division and unhealthy competition?
Are you asking me or you want to do it? You know, honestly, this is a very, very, very valid and very powerful question. This inordinate need for validation. I don't know what it is about today's generation that want that. Where we believe our advertisements so much and we don't know that we lie to ourselves all the time and we believe it. Validation is fine, it's okay. But my question is, if you are living for validation, what do you do when those who validate you are not there? What do you do? And many times we are looking for this validation because we have done this, we've written a book, we have sung a song. Sometimes somebody gets invited to a program and they will not let us rest. One program. It's like the whole world must show up. If they don't show up, then they are going to have a list of people who didn't watch my program, who didn't come there. Listen, you are immature. You are not qualified for some serious anointings and platforms. Jesus did not advertise himself like that. Let me tell you something. When he was baptized in Luke 3:21, the Holy Spirit came, rested upon him, and the voice of the Father spoke. Validation was, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. That's it. At that time, Jesus had not worked one miracle.
Yeah.
He hadn't preached one sermon. He hadn't raised one. He had done nothing. And yet the Father says, I approve of you. Yeah. So listen, your validation is not because of what you do. Your validation is because of who you are.
Yeah.
Who the Father has made you. Other than that, like he is asking, you get into competition. And by the way, competition is the death of happiness. Competition is the death of your happiness, because there's always going to be somebody
who is better than you.
Thank you, my dear. Who is better than you?
Yeah, so I believe that knowing who you are in Christ and believing in yourself will work it for you, because like he said, what if the people that are going to validate you are no more there? Or the next time you bring something different and they don't like it, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So you have to know that the Lord has validated you, and just get on with your business. You know, today we validate ourselves for those who are pastors, how many people come to your church, on social media, how many people are online watching you. Maybe they are online but they are ignoring you, and you never know. You know, you please keep your head down and serve the Lord. The next question comes from one of our own in Keres House, Ghana. Papa, is it normal for a pastor to feel not interested in taking ministerial work anymore? Yes and no. It's normal. Yeah. It's this is a double-edged sword. It is normal sometimes for pastors to feel disinterested. Why? They are burned out.
Yes.
They are tired.
They need a break.
They are hurt. They are worn out. They've hit a brick wall.
Yeah.
It happens. You've just lost your mojo. You lost the edge. It is normal. But that should not be your place forever. It should be a stage. It should be a stage, not a state.
States.
It's only a stage where you take a breather. And in that place, sometimes you can be very vulnerable.
Yeah.
To the extent that you love it so much that you don't want to get back into the thing again. You know, classic example in 1 Samuel chapter 15 about Samuel. You know, when he got disillusioned and disappointed with Saul, and he didn't want to preach again, didn't want to do anything again, and the Lord came in and said, how long will you mourn for Saul?
Fill your horn with oil.
Yes. Please say that again. I like that. Fill your horn with oil and go. So for any leader, any pastor, whatever, Saul was anointed by Samuel. And then there were some personality clashes and things, and Samuel was very disappointed. He didn't want to do this thing again, to the extent that when the Lord said to him, go and anoint another king, he said, no, I don't want to do it. In fact, Samuel, who had a monopoly over revelation, the Bible says that all of Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that the word of the Lord was with him in days that the word of the Lord was read. And yet he goes into Jesse's house, and from the get-go he started making mistakes. The firstborn shows up and says, this is the Lord's anointed. The Lord says no. He had to go through all this. He was making mistakes until the Lord said no. Can you imagine? Anytime you get offended as a leader, anytime you get hurt, you make bad mistakes, and then your spiritual sharpness begins to be compromised. And when the Lord gave him that strong word, how long will you mourn? God did not release him from his calling. He said, fill your horn with oil and go and do the same thing that you did that got offended. Go and anoint another king. So let me tell you something. A burden that you have may come and go, but the calling never leaves you.
Yeah. I think you talked about it too on ISI Wednesday, the opening.
Opening,
yes.
Breaking points.
Yes, breaking points. And sometimes as leaders, we do a lot and we get to our breaking points.
Somebody dropped in something in my inbox, so I'm not going to mention his name. It says that, how do you get your Christian spouse? How do you get your Christian spouse to understand so you can do the call of God? It looks like my brother is in a little bit of trouble.
Understand what his ministry.
Yeah, maybe the spouse doesn't want him or her to pursue the call. So how do you get them to understand? Let me say that, and I'm going to leave it to you to do it. I'm sure if I woke up tomorrow morning and I said to mommy, God has called me to Timbuktu, I'm sure that initially about 80% she will say yes. You know why? Equity. It's equity. Good decision equity. Because anytime you make a bad decision, you put it in a bank.
Yes.
And anytime you make good decisions, you put them in a bank. And when it comes to the chase, whatever deposits you've made is going to determine who trusts you or who believes you. Because I know people who every 3 days they have a call, they try this, doesn't happen. Your spouse will get tired. And spouse, especially the female gender, they are wired for security. Thank you. Go ahead, since you said it.
Yeah, it's so true. We are wired for security, and like you rightly said, For us, equity is very important to us. Maybe your spouse might look at your record and you keep making decisions and you keep changing your mind every time. You lose equity with your spouse. And it's not to say that she doesn't believe in what you are doing. She does, but she's also thinking about security, her family, what's going to happen. You know, I tell people that when we moved here, how many years ago?
23.
23 years ago, we moved here. We didn't know anybody. Not one soul. We didn't know anybody. I moved here with a pregnant, I was pregnant for 7 months when we moved to Atlanta. I followed him because, like he said, because of his leadership decision equity. So it's important that as a leader of the family, you make decisions that will encourage your spouse to also, follow you. Because if you keep changing your mind, you don't even know what you're doing or what everything is all about, it's going to be hard for your spouse to follow. So, and it's not that your spouse doesn't believe in your dream, she does. But it is what it is.
I guess that is why Abraham didn't tell Sarah I was going to kill your son. Because he didn't have any equity about.
Probably
he didn't have it. So he didn't tell Sarah. He said he's the only one who was going to kill his son, and he was going to call it worship. Because at that time, I'm sure Sarah would have killed him, before he left. Listen, we have just about 5 more minutes. I don't know if there are any more questions. Well, there's one there from your favorite guy, Ofosu-Appiah.
Oh, Pastor.
He actually calls you Pastor Mary. That's beautiful, isn't it? When your son calls you Pastor Mary, I mean, you are in business, man. You are in business.
Pastor Mary, what are your patterns and habits you use to sustain your relationship with God?
That is beautiful.
Patterns and habits. Yes. I believe that you have to have a pattern. You have to have a habit with your relationship with God. Very simple and basic habits or patterns. It is said that if you do something continuously for 21 or 30 days, it becomes your habits.
Yeah.
And so start with your daily devotions with God. And when I say daily devotions with God, it doesn't mean like a 1 hour or even a 30-minute daily devotions. Start small. And as the days or the months go by, you begin to increase it gradually. In the morning, it could be just 10 minutes in the morning, or before you go to bed, 5 minutes before you retire to bed. So, but the key word is consistency. You have to be consistent, because if you are consistent at doing something, it becomes part of you. So you have to start small. And like I said, your daily devotions with the word, your daily reading. And so at the end of the day, you take stock of your life. It could be just one word that you heard that will impact your life. It could be just one sentence that you heard from the Bible, or you read something that would impact your life. Take that one word or one sentence with you, and it will better your life. Aim at using that word. Aim at using that a sentence to increase your life or to better your life. So for me, you have to start small and you have to be consistent.
Okay. On YouTube, there are, I hope, Brandon, you got it, and if you didn't get it, you know where to find her. But our own from it's a follow-on question that he gave, and I found it here on YouTube, about the pastor who doesn't feel like, and he's asking that, please, do you seek counseling on that, or you wait until you feel bounce back? For me, you should seek counsel.
You should seek counsel.
Because the bounce back may not come.
Yeah, and maybe the spouse is also looking for clarity.
Okay, but this one, I'm talking about the one who says that, minister, you don't feel like doing ministry again.
Oh, okay, I think you have to seek counsel.
Yes, because sometimes bouncing back, you remember the Lazarus who died, and Jesus resurrected him. And when he came out, he was still bound, and Jesus had to tell people outside of him, loose him and let him go. So even though he was resurrected, he was still bound.
Yes.
And so you need people to untie, seek counsel. There's another one here that says that It says, hey, Papa, I learned in this life that you should learn to say no without feeling guilty. But is it also important to be very careful of what and who you say no to? Yes, you have to be careful. If the person pays your salary, be careful. If the person pays salary, be careful. You have to have wisdom. You know, you have to have wisdom and know who to say no to and what to say yes to. I mean, Psalm 1 says that, my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Mm-hmm. So if you have to say no, no matter who the person is. If they are enticing you to sin against God and your conscience and to hurt other people, don't do it. You have to stand for something. But in many ways, it's just a matter of wisdom that you have.
Yeah.
There's this woman of God. I think she must meet you one day. Wendy is in Texas with her husband. Okay. They are doing an amazing job. Occasionally, I chance upon them. Wendy, God richly bless you for the good work you are doing. You know, mommy's firstborn is in Dallas, so maybe when she visits, I'll make sure that I connect you. But it says that greetings, daddy and mommy. How do you balance marriage, ministry, career, etc., etc.? You are the expert in this one, so do it, and in 3 minutes we are gone. I think we have to do it. If you want us to do it again, just show us by hand. You know, blah 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 blah. Let's come back again. But what do you say? How do you balance marriage, ministry, and your career?
I think for starters, there has to be a degree of communication between you and your spouse. It's very important, and you have to talk about everything. If you know that you can do it, you have to let the person know that you can do it. For example, if you have young kids and you're doing ministry, I think you have to devote some time in raising the kids to a certain yes, you have to. Till your children, gets to a certain age where you can do ministry full time. If you have young kids, that's not the time for you to, leave the kids and for you to do ministry.
Formative years.
Yes, because they are formative. Yes, okay. Yes. So it's very important that you do that. And again, it has to be communicated between you and your spouse. You have to talk about it. Yes, you might be a woman of God. You have ministry. There are things, you have the grace of God upon your life to do ministry. But if your kids are small, you have to, devote a lot of time in raising your children. And then, and again, your kids will grow. So there must be a form of communication. For me, communication is very, very important in everything that we do. Because if you don't say it, I am not a mind reader. I don't know what you are going through. It might be that what I'm doing is not something you like at that time. Please, let's talk about it. And so
go ahead.
And so you have to balance it. And again, the key word is communication. You have to talk about it, and you have to be intentional in everything that you do.
Thank you, Mommy. The intentionality is very important. Please don't forget, everybody has been gifted with 24 hours a day. So the wisdom is to know how to apportion the hours, the minutes, and the seconds profitably, so that you do not do one at the expense of the other. The first call of God that you have is to your family. Never forget that. You cannot sacrifice your family on the altar of I'm doing ministry. Remember that he told us that if you cannot keep your own home, then you are disqualified from leading God's house. And me growing up, seeing it, I've walked. God has been very merciful to me. I walked in that peripheries before, where we were so much doing God's work that I even forgot about the people who really mattered in my life. Mercifully, the Lord saved me and delivered me. When you have time for your family, the world will not end. And whoever wants to go to hell will also go, even if you are still there. So this is a little bit. I think we have to do this again. What do you think? Listen, next Tuesday we'll be back. We're going to do it. We'll do it. I promise you. I'll bring her back. No matter what she does. If she runs away, I'll drag her scratching and kicking. because next week I had another wonderful surprise for you. But Mommy and I will continue this. Then that's the wonderfulest surprise you are ever going to get. It's going to be kicking. It's going to be popular. I told you we are not looking for popularity. We are looking for significance. We want to help you in many, many ways. Get your questions together. Tuesday we're going to get together. I hope it's been a blessing. We normally leave all our episodes there so you can go back and listen to it. Listen, my name is Frank Ofosu-Appiah, your ambassador of hope. I don't know who you are, but
and my name is Mary Ofosu-Appiah,
the wife of the ambassador of hope. We love you very much. We'll see you Tuesday.
We love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.